So that is it. The finale. It is all done. F1 2017 season is over and done with Valtteri Bottas winning the final race in Abu Dhabi. So welcome, guys, to the final Grid Watchers podcast of the season. And today I am joined by Causa LFC 96 and Ashley Richardson. Both you know on Twitter and on YouTube. So, guys, what was the most exciting race in the world this evening, or this afternoon? What would you give it out of 10, Causa, to start off with?
A solid 3.5.
Oh, that's a low score. Low score.
It was a low race.
Very true. What are you, Ashley?
I would give it gash out of 10.
Oh,
it was just so poor. Probably, probably about 2. I mean, about 2, because there was some interesting midfield battles. That's about it.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, you saw after the first 8 or 9 laps, it was exactly the same grid order, and the race was focusing on Grosjean and Stroll's fight for, was it P14, P15? It shows how
P13 and 14.
13, yeah, and it shows how big the gap, that because everyone was constant at the top 10. You had where Hulkenberg had a 5-second penalty, but that because of cutting a corner at the start. But it was just a shit show, really, and it's unentertaining. F1, really, it's just been the season in general. It seemed that all the overtakes were on the DRS parts of the track.
Well, it's usually they're not making overtakes into the hairpin because they know they'll get destroyed in the DRS and slipstream. So what's the point? I remember Daniel Ricciardo was saying they did a little bit before the race of going, oh, where's the bit you can overtake? Well, you can go here, here, and here, but why would you when there's DRS straight? So it sort of ruins that when you know you're going to get absolutely destroyed by the DRS. So like the main battle that I seemed to catch was the battle with like Verline and I think it was Magnussen in like P15 and 16. So if that's the most exciting thing going on, then it sort of shows how bad the race was.
That's very true. I mean, the writing was on the wall after quali. Hulkenberg was 2 seconds off Hamilton, Bottas's pole time, and I think he was about a second behind Verstappen. So you got the top 6, and then there was like a second gap, and I was like, right, okay. And then by the end of the first lap, I think the final car in the train was Verstappen, and there was at least 6 or 7 car lengths by the end of the first lap between him and Hulkenberg, and it's just that like straight away you're just like, all right, cool, because I predicted that Hamilton would walk over Bottas and then Red Bull would catch up, ish, be nip and tuck with Ferrari. But I suppose they were nip and tuck with one Ferrari, but Hamilton didn't take Bottas. It never really happened, so we were all just waiting for it, and he got within a second, and fantastic error regs, and he just drops away again. So the fact, exactly what you referenced, the fact that the race director was focusing on 13th and 14th place, and then a battle for 14th and 15th place, and it's like when there's like a fight at school, but it's 2 of like the really small kids, and you go there and you're like, it's just them, and then they slap each other for a bit, and that's it. Or just clear off. Yeah. Oh, awesome. That was fantastic. I mean, you got Grosjean, who's all over the place anyway, battling Stroll, who's just, God, as if he's got some sort of fidget syndrome with the steering wheel, and that's it. That was fantastic. Then you got Verline with a year-old engine, just getting walked over down the straight by Magnussen of all people. Mate, it's just like
Magnussen, whose power unit obviously was so powerful that it started to spin himself out as soon as he used it. That's just mental. Round the right-hand return to decide to spin it up and crash.
Yeah, that was pretty exceptional. But it just shows like how poor the regs are, and everyone saw it. I think they were suggested at the end of 2015, right? And everyone saw it, and they were like, oh yeah, they're going to be faster, but looking at these regs, it's going to be gash. And it just is, and it's so poor, and I don't know why they feel it would have been better. Dirty Air was bad enough in 2016, and people were struggling to race each other, and it's like no one saw this coming. So, really, all your big minds can see it coming, and some 15-year-old dude on Twitter's tweeting about it, and it's, for example, and it sucks because of course they look better this year, but the racing is That's poor. Really poor.
Yeah, that is the trouble. It's just not exciting. I've personally turned over to watch more world endurance racing because it's more exciting, and it's not the pinnacle of motorsport, but it's far more entertaining than F1 at the moment, which is it's sad because F1 is meant to be the top sport, and it's very poor. There's been plenty of seasons where we've had really good racing and multiple people winning the title, and I think that is also to do with the cost that comes into F1 as well, which hopefully will get fixed soon. But today it seemed like the most exciting moment was when Sainz's wheel wasn't put on the car properly, and he almost binned it in the pit lane, which would have been quite exciting to see if he went straight on coming down the hill. He almost did as well.
And then they'd have closed the pit lane.
Safety car. Oh, we'll pit. Oh, wait, no, hold on.
Well, hang on, the pit lane's blocked. Yeah. They wouldn't have noticed either. They'd been like, "Oh yeah, quick, pit under safety car." And there'd be like 10 cars in the pits, and none of them be able to get round.
It'd be like the
God.
pile up in Macau in the GT3s. It'd be like that.
Cool. No, it is. It's a strange thing that they've managed to do this. But you've got categories like World Endurance Championship, which is, that's really, really good racing. But you've got people like during the touring car season, they'll switch over and watch the touring cars. And there's some gimmicks in there like ballast and turbo boost pressure that they regulate to try and even out the field. But you don't need that in F1. The drivers are good enough, but obviously the cost or the prices they pay and how much money they get dictates it. But they can't change that because they all signed a Concord agreement till 2020. That's why none of the engines can be changed or anything. That's why everyone has to wait till 2021. So Liberty is stuck between how much really they can do in the next few years. We've just got to wait out the Bernie legacy, who still sits at home and says, "Oh, do you know what, Liberty Media, they're just not doing the right thing." And they're like, "Mate, look at the sport this year. You've almost killed it." And it's like, "Nah, you're not doing the right thing. Just go away and enjoy retirement with your missus that's half your age, and just leave us alone."
One of his granddaughter.
God, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But it is a fair point. Is that Bernie himself has created this sport as it is, but will then go, "Oh well, there isn't enough overtaking," and it's like, well, okay, but this is the issue that you've created. Everything's too expensive. This issue you've created, and like Liberty Media trying to sort it out in the best way they can.
But it's so knotted up. It's like when you're trying to undo a shoelace that's been done up too many times. It's just like, oh, you have to pull that bit, and then try and get in with that bit, but that bit opens a little bit, and then you've got to pull another bit. It's so knotted up. It's so not straightforward because, as Bernie said, I always did handshake deals. And it's like not everything's written in stone, and everything's done with like, bit of hearsay, bit of mates, bit of backhand deals. It's all so knotted up that it's like, oh, okay, we'll change that. And it's, oh, actually, no, you can't change that because, we rely on that. And that was something Bernie told us, and we got it written in a contract. And then right, okay, we'll try and change this then. And you got another team going, well, hang on, that's not fair. And it's just, it's so frustrating. I think Liberty need to sort of grab it by the scruff of the neck and say, look, it's clearly not working out. The changing regulations was to stop Mercedes dominating, and big whoop, look what happened. It's not worked out. You either stay here and listen to what we've got to say, because I think Ross Brawn is bang on the money with what he's got to say. This is how we're going to pull the championship forward. And if you don't like it, you can leave. I don't know where you're going to go, but you can leave, if you really don't like it that much. And that stands for Red Bull, that stands for Ferrari and Mercedes. The other teams are like, oh yeah, we'll change it all. But it's those top three are like, oh well, we put so much money into hybrid units, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, that's understandable. But the F1 cars are heavier now than they've pretty much ever been. Then you got Ferrari like, oh no, we'll just do whatever the FIA says. And of course, the FIA are still not the same as sort of Ross Brawn and a new team. They're trying to get in and change what they're trying to do too. And you got Charlie White in just there like, yes, we must have this flip flop on, and Liberty Media are like, kind of shit for advertising, and that's not brilliant. But Charlie's like, no, we must have it. And you're like, and then Ferrari are the only team to say yes, do that, as the other teams are all opposed. So that had to go through because it's got to be a unanimous vote. And then you got Red Bull. They're like, oh well, we'll quit if it's not equal. We'll quit if it's not aero. We put aero rules in, and they're like, oh well, it's our engine now. Not fair. And everyone's got a valid point, but it just needs, as I said, Liberty to just go, look, stop it. This is what we're doing. Which is what they did in WEC, which is why people like, Toyota came in and Porsche came in and everyone had a really good race, and now they're all buggering off, which sucks.
Yeah, yeah. No, hopefully it does get sorted over the next few years with Liberty Media. It's going in the right direction. It's just taking its time, and I understand with the whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but hopefully it does get sorted. But yeah, I think we haven't really spoke about much of the race just because there wasn't much of it available really. So as it comes to the final race, we have the new Formula One logo. Are we liking it or disliking it?
I mean,
I don't know.
Hmm.
I think the thing is it something you go, yeah, but it's completely different, I don't like it, and then in 6 months' time, because you're so used to it, you don't. So ask me that question at the start of, well, maybe a couple of races into next season. I can guarantee I'll go, yeah, it's all right.
It's just unnecessary, really, isn't it? You know, there's so many bigger things that are wrong, but I think it's what they're trying to do is just take everything away from Bernie, try and turn a new chapter, and just try and we're trying to just wipe the slate clean. So it's just another stage in that process. But really, did it need to be changed? Not really. Even though the other one's quite basic, yes. But you know, I think the whole inclusion of the one with the F is quite interesting. With this one, it looks just like someone's written Force India. And it's like, well, it's simple enough, you know. It's not over snazzy and razzle dazzle, but I think Rickson could have done a better job with his crayons.
Yeah,
Probably. I mean,
Maybe I'm eating them first.
Yeah, but I don't know how like a bunch of middle-aged men can sit down, look at those, and go, "Yes, that's fantastic." You know, it's like that's a really good job, and it's like someone sat there as a graphic designer and gone, "Yeah, I just knocked these up. These are just some of my design ideas," and they're going, "Yes, we'll take those. We'll just use those." And he's like, "Well, no, they're not finished. No, it's fine. We'll just take them and use them." So,
I think Liberty Media have done it purely to sort of put their stamp everywhere. That this is a new sort of, they're slowly trying to put in the new era, so a new logo, and then they've got new engine regs, and they've got a new sort of way of experiencing the sort of show. Obviously, I don't know if you follow Arav on Instagram. Unfortunately,
the man
I
himself.
do.
Nope.
And it's just like 1,000 things of Avicii in a concert. Although it's quite irritating, quite a nice little thing to have when you're going to go and see a race.
Yeah, it's all about the show, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Every picture he seems to take, he seems to have his glasses right in front of his eyes. I don't know where he knows where the camera is, but
I don't know where else he's going to put his glasses.
Well, no, the frame, like it falls down his nose, and it really annoys me because whenever I meet him, or if I was ever like close to him and with him, I'd always like try and push his glasses back up his nose, because they sit right. The frame sits right in front of his eyes, and that would really annoy me. But yeah, amazing experience he's had with Gillen this weekend, being with Williams, and the whole pizzazz of the show, and it's an event now. You know, what Liberty are trying to do is put some American jazz into it, and make it an event, which is what it should be, because you used to pay a couple of £100 for a ticket, and you'd be like, hour and a half race, cool. But now there's so many other things to do. You know, you've got bigger game zone, lol, and concerts and loads of different things you can actually get on with, even while the race is running. So if it was a terrible race like today, I saw there was still like a concert going on near Ferrari World in the big helicopter shot. So that it's right that they're doing that, and as we said, that they're making a good call there. Maybe.
Yeah, it does seem it's a bigger show now, which is good. It's going in the right direction, with more inclusion for fans, and it seems it's going in the right direction compared to the Bernie era. But as you referenced, actually, the gaming zone, and this weekend we had the F1 Esports final, which Brendan Lee or Bam Lee, ESR Lee, whatever you want to call him, Dizzy Cupid, yeah, whatever people call him, but he won the esports race. Spoiler alert, if you don't know, have you been living under a rock? But yeah, he won the esports. And I just wanted your opinions on it. I know, Ashley, you have a big opinion on this, and if you follow Ashley on Twitter, I'll put it below. He has some very funny tweets about the race. But opinions on F1 2017 and the esports. I'll give it to Causa first, because I know Ashley wants to take a big rant on this. So Causa, what are your thoughts on it?
If I start, and then he's got lots to talk about, the whole esports thing I mean, the racing was really good. I mean, if you get 20 of the fastest esports racers on the planet and put them on 2 races, it's obviously going to be amazing, and it was really good fun. It was competitive. There was some difference of opinions during the 2 races, but I really enjoyed it. I loved watching it, and I think that Codemasters now have to realise what they've got under them and what it could do for them, and buck their ideas up in terms of the multiplayer experience. I mean, it's a good base game, obviously, to do it on. That's why they did it on that. But there is some improvements need to be made from Codemasters' end, and in terms of esports in general, I think that this is a really, really good start to F1 esports in terms of the fact that they, Fernando Alonso on the back of this has created an esports team and signed one of the drivers that was racing who won the Spa race, and it sort of shows that esports is very, very quickly becoming, it could be very quickly become a very big thing. F1 have advertised it in the right way for it to be able to do that, putting it on Sky. Their main F1 accounts have been tweeting all about it. It's on the main Formula One YouTube account. So it could be really, really good.
Ashley, I know what you want to talk about. I agree with a lot of your points, Causa. I think the game still needs improvements, but if Codemasters look at it and go, right, we have really bottled it, the multiplayer, we should really, if this esports going to work, we're going to have to pull our fingers out and actually do something. But I think, Ashley, you can explain this a bit more than I can.
Well, no, because they're all delusional.
True.
The tweets they've been putting out, whether it's Lee or Jenny or the game account, you're all there like, what a truly amazing job, what a great team, and you're there like, what were you watching? The racing was really good. The dirty air is very accurate, I feel. That's something that's, very, very interesting. As shit as it is to be in dirty air, I think they did a very good job there. The slipstream isn't powerful enough, a typical over nerf, so the racing wasn't as brilliant as it could have been. But it just seems that obviously you've got the issues that they have, that everyone's well versed in what issues are there. But I struggle to think there's a single guy in that paddock that didn't look at the screen and think, hang on, those tyres are a bit wider than they should be, or why is that car dancing across the track, like as if it's having some epileptic fit, dancing around everywhere. I struggle to see that anyone who didn't see that start questioning it. Because if I built that game and XMAG did a video on how many hours it took to build, and I don't disagree that, but it took a lot of time. But I'd just be sitting there with my head in my hands because the car's lagging when the consoles are wired to the PCs are wired to each other. You've got they had to turn the safety car off. They had to use pit assist because there were issues there, and it's just, well, you're just proving that we can't use your game properly because it doesn't work. But and then they're still tweeting at the end, oh, it's incredible, oh, it's fantastic, and we would have seen more of it had the drivers not been at gunpoint over the weekend, because they must have either signed an agreement to say I won't say anything, or say, this is my place here, I confirm that I will not badmouth, because there was one guy who actually did it, and his tweets got deleted a couple of hours afterwards. That's the guy whose game crashed, Beneke, I think his name was. So he was out like straight. He had no shot at the title because his game crashed, and they referenced it like a couple of days after. In the next race, Jack Nicholls was like, "Oh yeah, you can see he didn't finish. Yeah, he was 2 minutes down. That's hard luck. He didn't finish that." And it's like, well, no, say it. Say that the game crashed and he was ruled out of the race. Say that, because that's what actually happened. Not, oh yeah, he had a tough race and didn't finish. Don't put it towards him. So the other tweets I saw was obviously the Flying Finn. He tweeted a few things, obviously saying how bad his weekend was going, and he said technical issues, and that's a quote. So that's pointing a finger at the game, but not quite. So he can't get roped in on that one. And then the other guy was Enlight, who said frustrating that it's along the lines of it being decided by the game. It's not really good enough. First of all, you've got the people who commentate and going, do you know what? It's just such a great opportunity for sim racers to race on this sim, and you're there like, mate, are you fucking joking?
It's not a sim.
Not
really
a
not.
sim.
Not even close.
Not even close, no. And then not only that, you've got these people, and in part it is being dictated by the game, and it's just like right, okay, and even Sven himself. So he went into the pits in front of Brendan Lee, and then after the race, and then obviously Brendan jumped him in the pits. And after the race, he said, "Oh, look, I chose the Mercedes because I liked it and I liked how it handles, but I know that the pit stop team is the slowest out of all of them. We all know that." And I was like, "Well, whoa, hang on, that was in 2016. So was the lag. So was this. So was that." And it's like, are you serious? Like, you can't even make the pit stops equal. Not to mention that in the semi-finals, the race that Brendan Lee won was on realistic performance. And wasn't rerun. Max Benecke's race wasn't rerun, and there were a few other issues that weren't televised in the qualifying rounds that they weren't allowed to talk about that weren't rerun. And it's all a bit of a shambles, all a bit of a cover-up. But it's everyone seems to be okay with it. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. It's just some issues with the game and it crashed." It's like, no, hang on. Gone past the point of we're paying 40-50 quid for a game and we want it to work. It's now at the stage where someone's missing out on paddock tickets, global recognition, all the rest of it because of incompetency with the devs. And I think RG Matiz missed out as well because of some glitch. He referenced it, subtweeted that it was to do with the game. He was quite down about that because he's just had a phenomenal these last couple of months to the heights where he is now. And he was robbed. The Flying Finn and his brother were robbed. Technical issues. And Benecke, obviously, he was probably the hardest hit out of all of them, because his game properly crashed. And no one seems to be saying anything because obviously they're not allowed. But it's going to take someone to say, "Look, I was robbed and it's not good enough," and then all the other guys will get behind them. But until someone says that, they can't. But because they're so entitled with so many obligations now, "Oh, we've flown you out, yeah. Oh, we've paid for your accommodation. Look at this, look at that." They can't say anything. And their hands are tied. Put it that way.
Yeah, I think we will hear something in the next couple of weeks once the Grand Prix is over and done with and the F1 Esports is calmed down. I'm sure people's opinions will come out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. Something will come out, and hopefully that I want to see their real opinions and what they really want to say. I speak to Finn now and again on when I do some league racing or commentary for league racing. He's already said that the game is awful. And well, hopefully we hear stuff from them. But as well, the last couple of days we've had the World's Fastest Gamer competition done with I don't remember his name. I think he's Dutch, but he won it. And I wanted your opinions, both of you. Could we potentially see a esports driver in F1 one day? We do have. I know the GT Academy, they've got drivers doing World Endurance Racing, but could we potentially see any esports driver in F1 at all?
I do like GT Academy. I actually had a good pop at it back in the day, back in Gran Turismo 5 and 6 or one of them. And I think Jan Mardenborough is really good. We wouldn't have seen him otherwise. He'd still be in his bedroom playing the game. But in terms of F1, I just feel that there's more money at stake. More money at stake here, and I think with Nissan being a Japanese brand, with Gran Turismo being a Japanese game, they kind of went hand in hand. But with the F1, it's a couple of lads with Lee Mather on his forehead in Birmingham, and there's just no like link up with the teams. I think in terms of their game, but in terms of what Logitech are doing with McLaren, that's huge. And with Fernando's team as well as World Fastest Gamer, I don't know, really know how long the World's Fastest Gamer thing is going to run for. Obviously, the guy's won it, but will it run next year? I'm not sure. I think the sim stuff, he's going to do a lot on the sim. I don't think he'll ever participate in a race or a race weekend. He might get a media day, like Lando Norris did, but considering the skill and all the stuff that Lando Norris has done just to get one media day, so far he's only done one test day and he's getting another one this weekend. Considering all the stuff that he's done, because I remember watching Lando a couple of years ago when he was just like 4'0" in Ginetta cars smashing the field. To go from a game to the sim, it's going to take a long time and a continued deal to go from the sim to a media day or anything like that. Because there's so much money involved, with the Nissan program. Yes, there's money involved, but you're looking at jumped up GTR is not multi-billion-pound F1 machines. You know, it's tough, and it's amazing that they've done it. But I do feel at the end of his contract, which will be sort of this time next year, this Rudy Van Buren bloke will just be cast off, much like Kevin Magnussen was at the end of his contract. Oh yeah, cheers, bye.
Yeah.
And looking for an opportunity somewhere else. You know, I don't think there'll be any continuity. They'll just be like, oh, we're picking someone else now. But it's nice. It is nice because some people who actually have talent, people like Ahmad and Brad Lucas Ordonez and people like that, are actually getting a shot and doing really well.
Causa?
Yeah, I don't think there will ever be a sim driver in F1, partly because of the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you go, okay, so Lando Norris has had test sessions and whatever. Russell's had test sessions in Force India, etc., etc. People that have spent probably 10, 12 years of their life dedicated to racing to get to the highest level.
Yeah.
So why would you put someone who's a sim driver in the car for a test over someone who's proven themselves in a race car? It doesn't sort of make sense. GT Academy, that's fine, because I think they actually have their own sort of like team in whatever sport they go into. So it's all right for them to just go, oh yeah, we'll enter some sim drivers. That's fine. That doesn't rely on anyone else other than themselves. But if you then go to like Toro Rosso, etc., oh yeah, we've got a sim driver, do you want to give them a go? They're going to look at it and just go, no.
No. Yeah.
So that doesn't happen. In terms of World's Fastest Gamer, they've employed, I actually can't remember his name, but they've employed him to literally be a sim driver for them to do testing.
Yep.
So his job is to be a sim driver. So there then wouldn't be any need to put him in an F1 car because he's doing his job in the sim doing testing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his job. Whether how that sort of job role works in the future, I don't know. Whether they keep running it, keep proving him, etc., I don't know. But I mean, it is an amazing opportunity for sim drivers to be able to show their worth, and this guy has quite clearly shown his worth by McLaren employing him to be part of their driver lineup.
I think the issue with, you see George Russell and Lando Norris getting into doing F1 tests and sim drivers and everything, but the issue with motorsport at the moment, it's so expensive. I've done a bit of karting. I got to a semi-professional level, and I had to stop because of the money, because it got to a ridiculous level where you're paying stupid money for a basic setup and a basic car, and doing this sim driver version and getting a rig and everything, it's far cheaper than actual motorsport. So I think a lot of people are sort of looking at that route now. I think, like you both said, I don't think we'll ever see anybody in F1, but potentially in other forms of motorsport. Potentially, we've said the GT Academy. A lot of people, some of the drivers are doing that, and now think they're trying to get a prototype car for sim drivers, which would be amazing to see and race in Le Mans. So that would be good to see. But yeah, I think maybe not in F1, but lower formulas and other forms of motorsport potentially we could see some sim drivers racing in.
Yeah, that was the tragic thing in 2015 when Nissan turned up to Le Mans with their prototype car, which was behind schedule, and it just all flopped because they had the GT Academy drivers in there, and that was a real shame. But yeah, so they could do well, but it's going to take that one person to really take a step, and I think obviously McLaren have taken a huge step, not only with WFG but then with Alonso doing this team. So I don't know how he's going to manage it or what he's going to do, but that's big as well. For him to be on the scene there and start and talk about it. It's really good. It's endorsement really, and you've got Zach Brown saying as well. I'm really happy with Rory and what he's going to do, or whatever his name is, Rory. So it's obviously we've gone first step, but then to get actually someone having a drive, it's going to take a couple of steps from other people, and that may start by Renault putting him in or Red Bull putting one of them in a junior Formula car, like a Formula Renault with a Red Bull branding or something like that. Something small, but it'll be, if it is possible to get to F1, it'll take a few years at least.
Yeah, I think you said if you got a sim driver that's I don't know how old he is. He's in his 20s. I think he's 24. Yeah. But let's say he does a year in a sim and then they put him in a Formula Renault, then it's going to be, well, if he progresses every single year, he's going to be, 20, 28, 29 by the time he would get to F1. So realistically,
like Jolyon Palmer then.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and I don't think hopefully he wouldn't be as shit as Jolyon Palmer, but I won't go into that.
I don't think he'd be any worse.
Yeah, that's true.
I love how people question that decision. When Sainz got it, they were like, "Oh, do you know what? It's quite unfair on Palmer." And then the next race in Austin, everyone was like, "Okay, maybe, they should have done this a lot sooner."
Yeah.
I don't know why they kept Palmer for the season anyway, but I think we did this in March. So I think
Daddy's money, that is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we did discuss it in the pre-season podcast. I think that was the first ever podcast we had. But let us know your thoughts on everything we've discussed so far. But finally, as the season is over, we have 2.5 months, 3 months until the next race. So I wanted to get what would your favourite moments be of this poor season, I guess. But there are some highlights in it. But what would you say your favourite race or favourite moment is of the 2017 season?
My favourite moment is Renault confirmed to do engines for McLaren next season. That's my favourite moment of the season. Genuinely, is that valid? That was the first thing that popped into my head.
Well, there's that, and then there's the fact that Hondas have been more reliable than 6 races, and you're like, oh.
It's like crying.
Yeah, cry every time. I think, it's been like very small moments in a lot of races that have been quite good.
To be fair, China as a race was pretty alright. That was sort of the first race that we saw people going, well, no, we can't do the normal boring overtake. We've got to actually go for this, and that's where you saw like Danny Rick, Sebastian Vettel going for some ballsy moves, and that made the race quite good.
Yeah.
So I think China as a race was quite good.
That's a good point. That was a heck of a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
I think we were robbed really in Singapore of a decent battle, especially when Alonso went on the outside, was in third place for like a second, and that was it. It got smashed off. I think we were really robbed there. That would be awesome. I think I quite like the drama in Brazil, to be honest with you, with the whole Renault engine saga, because quite conveniently, Toro Rosso's lack of pace in the last few races has put Renault in a position ahead of them in the championship and all the millions that come with that. And I think Franz Tost and Helmut Marko went far off the mark by saying that, they just weren't getting proper parts. Because apparently, what I understand is, from what Ted and other people have said, is that they've gone through so many parts, and now Renault are having to refurbish the broken parts and give them back because they can't make new parts fast enough. And I said, well, they seem to be the only team struggling. Why don't you give? Yeah, it shows how reliable it is. But they seem to be the only team struggling. So why can't you give them some of your spare engines, considering you are the producer of the engines? But no, Toro Rosso have been shafted since, I think it was Japan. They had a bad race. Yeah, I think it was Japan.
Yeah, I think it might be Japan. I can't think
I think since then it's just been failure after failure after failure. And then today, Brendan Hartley was falling away from a Sauber on the straights, and you could hear it. Like, you could hear he had no gut, no drive in his engine, because they're having to run them so lean. And you got Brendan Hartley, the World Endurance Championship, pottering around in last or second to last place, unable to keep pace with Wehrlein after he makes a mistake. And it's like, come off it. And like, obviously that all happened in Brazil, but everyone. Alan Prost came in while Cyril Abiteboul was ready to just burn bridges left, right, and centre. Prost stepped in and was the man of the situation and kind of smoothed things over. But then you got this race, and everyone's looking at Franz Tost and saying, what's happened? And he went, well, we are slow everywhere. So it's like, okay, so what? So on the straights you'd be slow because of drag, and the corners you'd be slow for a bad chassis. So they don't go in. That's the engine. If you slow everywhere, it's the engine really. It's that far detuned, and they haven't really got a lot of development. But they come on, Sauber, like really, with a 2016 engine, they didn't have that pace either. So it's massive shafting to Toro Rosso, and I feel that they could have been a bit more bold about it and said, look, we are being shafted, because what they got to lose.
I think there's 2 races left with Renault. and Renault aren't given any new power units, why they've just gone, well, if they don't, then we're suing them, because surely there's something in the contract that goes with supplier with new power. Surely there's something.
Yeah, that's the thing, and especially with Honda next year. I mean, so what with the contract? Just they're like, you're just not sticking
at the moment. Honda's looking like a good idea for them. Honda's looking like an absolute beauty of a deal, because you guarantee that Honda is still going to be one-on-one with one team. So they're going to be like, okay, we're doing everything. They're going to be doing everything for Toro Rosso in the same way that we're doing everything for McLaren. Which, although it hasn't gone so successfully for them, it is a better deal than they've got.
Yeah. But the real shame out of it all is, with all this facade and saga, we have to wait. What now? 2089, 20. So another 3 seasons until we actually get some decent engines. Because you know, if Renault haven't caught up since 2014, what makes you think they're going to catch up to 2020? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how can they make that step if they still haven't made that step? And I think Ferrari are a bit closer now, and they're a couple of % down on Mercedes, and then you've got Renault, which are very far down. But it's still a beautiful, mate. He's just a clown. He's an absolute clown. I mean, that reflected in it. There he was, putting his, publicly putting his finger in Marco's chest. Marco of all people, Helmut Marco, the most imperious man on the grid. The guy's got one eye. And, he's in his face, squaring up to him like, you saying this, and you're screaming at him in the paddock. And you've got Alan Prost going, no, that's not true. It's fine. Of course they're going to have engines. It's Alan Prost, the guy who's got 4 championships and really doesn't need to be doing this sort of shit. He's looking after, the petulant child of Cyril Abiteboul, who drove Caterham into the ground and then clearly can't run an engine program. Then now takes over Renault Grand Prix, who are trying to battle Toro Rosso with all the money that Renault are putting in. So hopefully he'll go soon, and then Renault might actually make progress. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the question.
I just thought something just to make you feel old. When the new engine regulations come in, we'll be 25 years old.
We'll all be 25. We're all the same age, aren't we? Yeah.
That is so far away.
Hopefully I look better than Ben does at 25.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If
I've still got hair, got hair and skin that's actually connected to my bones, then I think we'll be alright.
Wait, if I still got hair and I can wear a hat properly, and someone tweeted he took a picture with, I think it was Danny Rick, and someone tweeted and said he probably thinks you're a Make-A-Wish kid. I was fucking screaming.
That was my favourite thing.
I mean that.
It does look like it as well. And
can I just say?
Go on.
Can I just say, we were talking about our favourite moments yet didn't mention Baku.
That was beautiful.
That was crazy.
You had everything that happened with Hamilton and Vettel, and then you had Hamilton's headdress coming off. We had Danny Rick who makes 3 places into one braking zone. You've then got him winning. Then you've got Stroll off to second place, gets pipped at the line, literally at the line by Bottas. Mental. And I missed it. I was crying when I heard.
That was amazing, because then you had who was up there and could have won. Then you had the Force Indias who made contact that should have won. They were faster than Red Bull all weekend. That would have been amazing. But I think the most ridiculous thing out of all that is obviously when Vettel did it, he was like, "Oh, did I make contact with him? I didn't see." And it's like, mate, your car took off. That's how hard you hit him. And then your car was off the ground, and then afterwards, the Hamilton, the media pen, Lee McKenzie gave him a question, and she was like, "Well, Vettel made the point that you're men and you fight in the car," and Lewis Hamilton said, "Well, if he wants to be a man, you talk about it face to face." And they took that way out of context. They said that Hamilton wanted to punch up with Vettel, and that he wanted to be a man and fight him in a boxing. All these fucking stories went out there, like Hamilton is ready to show Vettel he's a man. And it's like, no, what he said was, if you've got a dispute, you settle it outside the car. You don't ram into someone on the track. That's all he said. He said, if you want to be a man, you sort it out with the car face to face. You don't go hitting people on the track. They just took that tiny snippet and were like, Hamilton ready to, do all for championship and all this sort of stuff. And I was just there with my head in my hands like, oh God, you're just making it so much worse. But then, of course, Vettel wrote his letter, and the FAA were like, "Oh, do you know what, Seb? That's all good, mate. Fuck my wife too. It's all good.
Yeah. I think Baku and Force India's inter-team battling, / crashing throughout the season are my highlights of 2017 in Canada, Baku, and in Spa, where they all had contact. I wish they could race more, but they made sure that they couldn't do that, and have to wait and see next season if that continues on. So yeah, we'll see.
I mean, people have referred to Ocon as the smiling assassin, and I think Perez has had a big shock this year because he's come in and essentially been a Fernando Alonso Hamilton situation where Perez is like feels he's number one in the team, and you can see that rightfully so. You know, he's been there and he's helped develop, and Ocon's a new upstart, but Ocon's come in and been on pace, if not beating him, in many of the races, and it got to a point where Perez was like, "Hang on, guys, you know who I am. You know, he can fight me and hold him back, or I need to get past, move him out of the way." And they were like, "Well, he's been quicker than you most of the race. Why should we move him?" And Sergio Perez obviously was looking at Renault then again, because he was asked in 2016 and didn't go. He was looking at them again when the whole Sainz thing was going about, and he was looking at changing team and getting a new deal. And he realised that he didn't have another team, so he was having a pop at the team and saying, I'm not really respected here because of the whole not getting Ocon to move out of the way. And then he realised he didn't really have a team to go to. So after that, realised it all calmed down. First, it was like, can I pass Esteban? No. Oh, okay then. Not, oh yeah, I can pass him, you should let me pass, I got more pace. It was none of that after he realised he had nowhere else to go. So it was like, hang on Sergio, I know you're good, like, you've lost your touch in recent years, but I think you need to, you're an employee of the team, and no one said you'd be number one, but he assumed it. And that was where a lot of the tension came from, because Ocon wanted to obviously prove that he was very, very good and not be number two, and then Perez was like, oh, well, hang on, no. Been your years, you can't have that. But they were like, on Ocon, you fight him. And he was like, no. It was all, really back and forth. And Perez not really realising where his place was, and the team, to be honest with you, mishandling it, because they said, look, we want the best result for the team, and they lost that. What would that have been? That would have been, say Perez won in Baku, right? So that's 25, and then Ocon would have got 18, because both of them were faster than Williams and Red Bull. It wouldn't have made a difference to them in the championship, but I think that with the publicity, all the sponsorship, all of that sort of stuff that they got been in the light around there, would have been huge. And again, it took them another couple of races to actually impose team orders, and it's like, oh, come on, like. But they've learned now, but next year should be pretty wild. Hopefully,
next season is better than this current season. We'll have to cross our fingers and hope it's better. With just more racing. That's all. Rather just DRS overtakes, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. We've got 3 months to wait now until the next race. So I think that rounds off for the podcast. We'll do another podcast in about 2 weeks with some gossip and some other issues that we can discuss once after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix dies down. But thank you to Ashley and Causa for joining me this evening. If you enjoyed the podcast, subscribe below. Go check out Ashley and Causa below. Check us all out on Twitter and YouTube. And we shall see you in a week, 2 weeks for a gossip podcast. Good night.